and welcome to a quick screencast on CloudMonkey. So, what is CloudMonkey and why was it made? The only default user interface for Apache CloudStack is a web interface, also known as the CloudStack UI, and many CloudStack developers and admins wanted a command line tool to automate their work with CloudStack. But of course, one can build their own client based on CloudStack's RESTful APIs, and that is exactly what we did. We created a command line interface or CLI that works both as a command line tool and an interactive shell. We named it CloudMonkey after our beloved mascot. CloudMonkey has a lot of features and most of them will be covered in the screencast. We also have a wiki on cwiki.apache.org, link of which can be found in the video description. CloudMonkey was written in Python and is powered by Marvin and has about 500 lines of code and uses functional programming which makes it highly maintainable. To know more about Marvin, CloudMonkey and how they work, check out a screencast I made on the same, the link of which can be found in the video description and on my blog. CloudMonkey requires Python 2.5 or above and will use pip to install or upgrade it. Python comes pre-installed on GNU Linux and Mac OS X. For Windows, see python.org. Pip is a cross-platform package manager for Python and can be installed from pip-installer.org or see the wiki for platform-specific details. I've released CloudMonkey on Cheese Shop, which is pypy.python.org, as a community distribution which pip installs from. Note that it's not an official distribution yet, and starting version 4.10 will vote and release an official distribution on Cheese Shop. For instructions on how to build CloudMonkey from the code base, please check out the developer screencast or the wiki. For the demo, I have a locally running CloudStack management server with a pre-deployed basic zone. So let's get started by installing CloudMonkey. Pip install CloudMonkey. In case you have an existing installation, you can upgrade using pip installation --upgrade CloudMonkey. Now that it is installed, let's start it on the terminal. When it runs for the first time, it will ask you to configure settings using the set command. The CloudMonkey configuration is a file in your home directory with the name .cloudmonkey_config. You can set the value either using the set command or edit this file and restart CloudMonkey. We can use the command help or question mark to get help on a command or use -h or -help with APIs which we'll see later on. CloudMonkey supports auto-completion, so set tab shows us all the available configuration options. Let's list users and see what happens. We get unauthorized error as the default port 8080 uses API and secret keys for authentication, which needs to be set. Developers may have an integration port, usually port 8096, where the API server runs and does not require authentication. They may use that port. Nevertheless, port 8080 and the API and secret keys are recommended. Let's generate API and secret key for the root admin using the UI. Meanwhile, let me show you that the interactive shell stores history which is searchable like a bash or zsh, for example using Ctrl+R to reverse search. And it also supports Emacs-like key bindings, for example, Ctrl+A to go to start of the line, Ctrl+E for the end, Ctrl+U to delete the line, etc. Anything after the hash is considered a comment and is not processed. Alright, let's set the port, the API and the secret keys. You may set the protocol or the API path and any other configuration setting in case you have a non-default setup. Check out the wiki for details. Set port 8080, set API key, set secret key. Let's try listing the users now. Alright, it works now. To get help on the usage of an API, we can use -h or -help or question mark as suggested before. For example, list users -h, list users -help, or help list users, or question mark list users. Notice the help doc string will tell you what the parameter it requires and what all can be passed. CloudMonkey will also tell you in case you missed any parameter. For example, deploy virtual machines. List users account equals to admin. Notice arguments to a command are passed with the syntax key equals to value. The arguments are passed based on white space. If the value has a space, we can enclose it within the quotes. For example, list account name equals to some space separate name. Please refer the API docs on incubator.apache.org/cloudstack, or if you have the API docs, the syntax is simple, the API followed by its arguments. The default prompt is kind of funny and has a Unicode character, which is a monkey, but it may cause visual issues, especially while reverse searching and for long commands. We can set our custom prompt, for example, set prompt CLI. CloudMonkey can also be used as a command line tool. Let me demonstrate it by quitting. To quit, one can use exit quit or Ctrl D. We pass the same command as on the interactive shell, except we feed them to CloudMonkey. It can be useful to write your own scripts or for automation. One can also feed list of commands as a file via file redirector. They will be interpreted by the shell line by line as if you started the interactive shell and entered them. For example, CloudMonkey can also execute things on shell using the shell or bang command. For example, shell ls or bang who am I. This can be very useful for automation within the interactive shell. For example, to create 10 users or even more, a for loop that loops from 0 to 9, when CloudMonkey creates a user by the name user 0 to user 9. Pipes are very useful to do text processing, and in CloudMonkey you can pipe things just like you do them on your bash or zsh. For example, we can list users and pipe them and grep for ID and word count based on number of lines. Or in case output is very big, we can use more. The recommended way to work with CloudMonkey is to tail its log while using it for debugging. Let me open them side by side in Tmux. On one side I have CloudMonkey, on other side I have the log that is tailed. So far I've used simple APIs. Next we'll check out the raw API execution and async block features in CloudMonkey. We can make raw API calls using the API command and the actual API name. For example, API list users. This can be useful in case a new API has been added or there is no verb available for an API in CloudMonkey's grammar like list, add, etc. In CloudStack there are two kinds of APIs, synchronous or blocking and asynchronous or non-blocking. For example, the list user API is synchronous or blocking API, but the deploy virtual machine API is asynchronous or non-blocking. By default, CloudMonkey blocks and polls for async job till it timeouts. The timeout is set to 3600 seconds by default. We can set the async block setting in CloudMonkey to false, so it does not block an async job and won't wait for its completion. This is useful to deploy say 100 VMs without having to wait for each VM to be deployed. When async block setting is not true and an async API call has been made, it returns a job ID and the result of the job can be queried by passing the job ID to the query async job result API. As a last example, let's deploy 100 VMs. So we have a for loop where we loop from 0 to 9 and CloudMonkey deploys a virtual machine based on the service offering ID, template ID and zone ID. As you can see now 10 new VMs have been deployed. CloudMonkey still lacks support for Unicode and can take some help on the documentation. And as more people start using it, we can discover and fix bugs. So far it has been downloaded more than 200 times. I wonder who the users are and if it is any good and is helpful. Thanks a lot for watching the screencast and feel free to reach out to me and the Apache CloudStack team on our IRC and mailing list. Try and suggest features and report bugs. Patches are welcome. Thanks again and have a good day.